call this meeting of the Princeton City Council to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Mabry.
Here.
Councilmember Newman.
Here.
Gomez.
Here.
McCall.
Here.
And Selesky.
Here.
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start our meeting with public comment. We have public comment at the beginning of the meeting as well as at the end. We'd ask that you limit your comments if possible to 3 minutes or less. Typically the council doesn't respond because we may not have the answers, but we certainly can get back to you. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the council this evening under public comment? I know Victoria Epson was our Princeton Tourism Director. She's going to speak. Please. And Victoria, we're going to give you a little bit of exception there, that 3 minutes, since you are a city employee, and we appreciate the fact that you've got another appointment to go to, so you had to sneak us in tonight.
Thank you. Is this on? Yes.
It is.
Okay, good evening. As we move into the heart of summer, I'd like to share some upcoming events and tourism initiatives in Princeton in the month of July. July is the last month to experience a Princeton Community Band concert. Remaining dates in July are on July 20th and July 27th. And on those Sunday performances, the Shakespeare in the Park will be held at Soldiers and Sailors Park, which is a Midsummer Night's Dream. You can catch performances every Wednesday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. through July 30th. Speaking of Festival 56, they closed out Hairspray this weekend. It was a fantastic show. I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of their performances, which include Carrie the Musical, July 11th through the 20th, and The Little Mermaid, July 25th through August 3rd. The Bureau County History Center is hosting Kathy Bauer. She is the Bureau County Tourism Director and also on the Fair Board at Prairie Arts Center on July 12th. She will be giving a history of the Bureau County Fair as it celebrates its 170th year. Also, if you haven't had a chance to see the portraits exhibit, the Bureau County History Center, at the Bureau County History Center, please do so before its closing on July 26th. The museum hours are noon to 5 on Friday and Saturday or by appointment. July 17th, the Princeton Area Chamber of Commerce is hosting their third Thursday Shop Late event from 4 to 8. This month will be a patriotic theme. And we will see you down on Main on July 18th for our second street concert of the season with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. The Illinois Princeton chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution and the American Battlefield Trust are excited to feature the American Revolution Experience exhibit at the American Legion on July 21st through July 30th. The exhibit includes panel displays and interactive digital kiosks that use storytelling, illustration technology, and unique artifacts and primary accounts to connect modern audiences with the people and places that shaped the birth of our nation. So it's kind of a kickoff to our big celebration year next year for the 250th. And as always, our local farmers and artisans invite you to support the Princeton Farmers Market every Saturday from 8:30 to noon at Soldiers and Sailors Park. And I'd like to close with some exciting marketing updates. Princeton Tourism will feature the Bureau County Fair and Festival 56 in our upcoming Destination Illinois segment with WMVD Peoria and Bloomington. And over the weekend, Princeton was featured during the John Deere Classic broadcast as an expansion of Princeton Tourism ongoing partnership with WQAD and their 19th hole promotion. It was a great opportunity to increase regional awareness and visibility. And Michael Ziering and I actually attended yesterday, and we got to represent Princeton in the skybox between the 17th and 18th holes, so that was really exciting. So, thank you.
That's great. Victoria, thank you very much. Appreciate the update.
Any questions for me?
If you get another chance to go over there, John, your classic, our representative from the council would be John Isaacson, our senior council. He would like to go next time, okay? Drag him along.
Yes, for
John,
sure.
John would be glad to.
You were watching though, weren't you?
I was watching again.
John's our golfer. Thank you, Victoria. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. And anyone else? Chamber Director Janica, do you have anything?
Yes.
Please.
I just want to thank you guys for supporting the 4th of July. I don't know if any of you got to attend, but we had a lot of positive comments about the fireworks and the band on Friday evening. And I haven't gotten to touch base with Chief, but I felt like walking around the park, there was a lot of people in attendance in comparison to past years, now that people know we've moved it all to that side. We still haven't gotten Walnut Beat, because we went there last night, and man, oh man, there's a lot of people that come to their show, but ours was, I think it was a great success. So thank you to the city for supporting, and for Chief and Adam with the county for supporting us with all of that. I think the parking went smooth on the way out. Miss Geraldine, thank you for helping us kick off our fundraising. I know she's given me that nasty eye because I told her thank you out loud, but next year is our 250th, so we're looking forward to that. We have some fun ideas, so stay tuned. We'll have meetings. Thank you all.
Thank you, Janica.
Yep.
Anyone else for public comment? And again, you'll have an opportunity at the very end for public comment. Seeing none, we'll go ahead for the approval of our minutes, please.
I move that we approve the minutes from our regular council meeting on June 16th, 2025.
Motion and second. Is there any questions or comments about those minutes? Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Selesky.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye. And now on to the minutes for the special meeting on June 26th.
I move that we approve the minutes from the special meeting on June 26th, 2025.
Motion and second. Any questions or comments from council concerning those minutes? Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Pass.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Selesky.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye. Now on to our invoices, please, for City Clerk Janet Henning.
In the Department of Accounts and Finances, we have $104,663.05. The Department of Streets and Public Improvements, $200,763.10. The Department of Public Safety, $299,754.69. And in the Department of Public Property and Utilities, $412,070.33, with a grand total of $1,017,251.17. Mayor, all council members present have confirmed their reviews of all the invoices, and they're now submitted for disposition.
I move that we approve the invoices as presented.
Second. Motion is second. Any questions or comments concerning those invoices? Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Selesky.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye.
Next on the agenda, we have ordinance O-25-013, vacating an alley. This is the second and final reading.
I move that we approve ordinance O-25-013.
Second. Motion is second. This is, again, the second reading, and if there's any questions from the council, otherwise we'll go ahead and have our final vote on this, please. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Selesky.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is ordinance O-25-014, amending the City Code of Ordinances to lower standard signage height, allow temporary signage time limit extensions, and regulate monument signs. This is the first reading.
I move that we advance ordinance O-25-014 to the second reading.
Second. We have a motion and a second. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to get educated on this ordinance so we have a handle of what's going on, with the idea that we can maybe approve the first reading of it tonight, or amend the to say that we're going to hold off for 2 weeks to chew on it a little bit. But if we would, let's start out with Michael Ziering, our planning and zoning officer, to explain what we got going on. Please, Michael.
Yeah, so like you see, there's three aspects of signage, so we kind of lumped them all together. This was something we worked through in the Plan Commission. So to start with the lowering of the standard signage height, we felt that you see this in a lot of other communities where signage height is getting lowered, regulations on that is getting lowered, so as to increase the aesthetics of the streetscape. Now, obviously, this is something that we wouldn't expect to see. We wouldn't be forcing anyone to change their current sign height. It would just be any new sign moving forward would be moved down to 18 feet. And the next would be the temporary sign extensions. This was kind of in response to Aldi applied for a lot of temporary signs, and right now our code says you can only have them for 30 days. And we figured, well, that construction process is, at least 6 months. So we thought, as that becomes more common, where people are leaving up, having temporary signs such as that, it might be a good idea to work in some language that would allow for some extensions on those signs. So that was more for the construction signs, things like that are information-based for the community. And then the monument signs, we didn't have anything in our code regarding monument signs. So, there's a couple examples around town where those can get really big and really close to the property line. So you'll see in there that we have some language about moving those back off the property line to increase visibility on corners, and also regulates the signage, and makes reference to some IDOT. The visibility corner is something that IDOT's really big on, being able to see around corners. So it references that you have to follow IDOT standards as well. Any question?
If a building is vacated and there's a tall sign that does not coordinate with this, and the new owner comes in, is he allowed to keep that taller sign, or does he have to change it?
It's a good question. Well, technically, if a business were to be vacated for, I believe it's 1 year, that sign would have to come down, otherwise it would be able to be reused.
Okay. All right.
What if a current business wants to change their pylon and sign? They would be held to the ordinance if they would change it out?
That's correct.
On temporary signs, do you have an ordinance on the easel type signs that you see on
sandwich board signs?
Mm-hmm.
There is some language in the code about that. I don't know it off the top of my head, but there's about placement on sidewalk and things like that.
It should provide for a 36-inch clear hard surface walkway around it.
Sure.
I'm not sure that that's always being adhered to.
Okay.
So that's something that maybe we can look at.
Okay.
There.
Sure.
Other signs that have been around for a while, and a lot of people like them, but they're there, is that how do we categorize those signs?
Probably temporary signs. I think that's probably the only spot to put them. They're not permanent in the state that they, probably have good foundations and things like that.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that would fall under our temporary sign category.
Which means 30 days unless they come looking for an extension, and then you kind of evaluate.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether the information is pertinent. Yeah.
Once a business closes, how long do they have to remove their sign? I think we've got a couple signs that have been up for several years with no business.
I'm not sure off the top of my mind. I mean, a lot of things is once the use ends for a year, a lot of times the code references 1 year would be the cutoff, but I think in signs it could be 30 days. I'd have to get back to you on that.
I kind of think it is, Michael. I know that
It's either 30 or 60.
that lube shop up on the north end, they're like impossible to track down.
Yeah.
I know you've tried, I've tried, but yeah, it's a clear violation. So we have to find a way, I guess. And you're right. To hold people to it.
Yeah.
There are several around.
Yeah, I think that's all about just improving the streetscape. If you have, signs that don't lead to a business,
Correct.
There's no use for them. Yeah.
The thought was, when you travel around and visit other communities and you see the signs that are predominantly lower in other communities, say from the interstate coming into a community, it's a nice clean look. And again, we're not going to penalize a person in a business that already has a sign that's taller. It's just if it comes to the point where it's time for that sign to be replaced, they would be going to a lower profile sign. And it just cleans things up. We have things that we want to try to clean up over the next years, and like our billboards, I'm not a big fan of billboards, and I know we're working on trying to eliminate billboards that are in town. Those are kind of, not my favorite tool for advertising. I'm not a big fan of them. And we're slowly working on. The city owns a billboard ourselves that we're trying to get rid of. With right?
Tied to a lease on that one. Yeah.
Yes, we are tied to a lease.
Yeah.
The fine print is what takes away that whole thing. Yeah. I'd be in favor of this. We could pass this possibly with tonight with the idea that we're going to have another second reading on it, and then we have a little more time in the next couple weeks to look it over a little closer, and we're going to discuss it again. Is the council in agreement with that?
Yeah, I think I just kind of what we talked about before, right? And so all you guys are on board here too. Is I look at competition comes in, right? Do they have a disadvantage if they're at a lower sign, they're closer to someone who has a higher sign? I think about things like that with future businesses coming in. So I think we have to keep those things in mind, you know, and this kind of brings up the whole sign issue that when we had a business wanting an electronic sign, right, in a different zone. When you're talking about businesses coming into that, for instance, that one used to be a financial institution. You're not going to see a financial institution or something like that want to come in because they're going to want that LED sign, right? So are we stopping ourselves in certain areas from progressing in those and not having a bunch of empty buildings on Main Street? But I also look at the competition level. Do we put someone at a different competition level? It's just like I said, you got, you know, just use an example, you got Dairy Queen down here, it's got a 25-foot high sign, right? Michael and I had this conversation today. And you get a competitor, maybe not Dairy Queen, but let's just say it's another business close by and they're allowed an 18-foot, now they're 7 foot lower. First one you're seeing come down from the north side is you're seeing the 25-foot high sign, right? Does it put them as a competitive disadvantage? I don't know. But it's just something to think about, I think, when we talk about these. I'm fine with moving it forward and having a conversation for the, till, you know, 2 weeks from now.
They would be grandfathered unless maybe repairs.
The new business would not be.
No, the new business would.
That's what I'm getting
but
at.
The old business would be grandfathered.
Right.
And maybe, if I recall, at planning and zoning, we talked about if that sign broke down, like one of these electronic signs broke down, that would be the opportunity that they would come to the planning and zoning board and say, we want to fix it, or then you guys would have to say you can or can't.
Yeah, at that point it would be a variance for a sign height, yeah.
Commending a business that relocated on Main Street is the Adam Hellman State Farm. That's a good looking sign. It's a combination of, it's a shorter height and it's just very attractive for that sign. Did a nice job. That's a kind of the classic look we're after. So
that's more like high level, but something that I mentioned before, when we're talking about the signs, about giving a disadvantage to a small business that wanted to go ahead and try to promote more business, and as you all know, it's no longer a business. So, I mean, it's something when you think about it. We talked about the historical part of it, and obviously nobody really wanted to change. And I said, if you want to go ahead and promote business, sometimes things have to change. They say with advertisement and things like that. Not everything, but in order to allow that, you have to be kind of flexible with certain things. For me, like the signs are better when they're like eye level, because I'm not looking up. So unless I'm driving in the highway, then I look like for miles ahead. But other than that, I think the lower signs do work better.
thank you, Hector. Any other comments from the council? Otherwise, we have a motion and a second. So let's go ahead and call the roll, clerk, please.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Gillespie.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Next on the agenda, we have Resolution R-25-019, accepting bid and awarding contract to Advanced Asphalt for the General Fund Annual Street Program for $406,543.23.
I move that we approve resolution R-25-019.
Second.
Motion and second. Teresa, any comments on that?
Just 'tis the season for street projects. You have, just as a reminder in front of you, the 2 pages that was from the budget presentation of the street projects that were the goal for this year. These will be broken down, as you'll see in the next resolution. Some are MFT funded, some are from our special, our street tax that we collect, the 0.25%. So altogether, with the 2 resolutions, I think I gave in my update to you, we're about 4,000 over what was estimated. So not too bad. Some of these actually come in under once we get the work going. So on this one here, there's only one bidder. So Advanced obviously got the contract, or will get the contract for this portion of it for a little over $406,000 for general fund.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yes, on the fairgrounds water issue going to Old Brewery Lake, is that a tiling job or curbing, or what is?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been an issue, I guess, for a number of years, so probably going to be a lot of under stormwater as well. So.
Any other questions from the council concerning those? Okay, clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez. McCall,
Aye.
Valesky,
Aye.
and Mayor Mabry.
Aye.
Next on the agenda, we have Resolution R-25-020, accepting bid and awarding contract to Advance Asphalt for the motor fuel tax section number 25-0000000 GM street program for $297,237.
I move that we approve Resolution R-25-020.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions or comments from council concerning that? Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Newman,
Aye.
Gomez,
Aye.
McCall,
Aye.
Valesky,
Aye.
and Mayor Mabry.
Aye.
Next, we have Resolution R-25-021, authorizing sale of surplus real estate.
I move that we approve Resolution R-25-021.
Second.
We have motion and second. Before we vote on that, Teresa, I'm going to pass this over to you, please.
Sure. In your packet, as most of you are aware, you'll have the map of the tech park and the lots that are still available in that tech park. At this point, this resolution is focusing lots 5, 12, 13, 15, and outlot 7 of the tech park there. It comes up to about 10.4 acres in total. We did have this appraised, and we're only looking for 80% of the appraised value. So the total appraised value is $200,000. So at this point, at the 80% appraised value is what we'd be looking at for sale of the surplus. This leaves us about 2 lots left, 2 or 3.
3 owned by us,
Yeah.
1 privately owned.
So we're getting there. This, just as a reminder, this park was an EDA-funded park. So anytime we can get this land turned over and reinvested in, that looks good to the Federal Economic Development Administration as well. So it'd be great to get this 10 acres off of our hands. So I'm not sure how much more you want me to say.
Appreciate that. You're doing great.
I'm not sure if you want me to
No,
talk too much detail.
No, I think we'll leave it tonight. Teresa, thank you, and pass back to me, and so if I could. A couple of the principals, it's a number of people that are involved in this project, but 2 of the principals are here this evening. So before we vote on this, if I could, we're going to ask Don and Valerie King if they could come up and speak and explain just a little bit about what you got going on. Again, we're glad you're here tonight. You're good.
You know, we thought the Mickleys were probably done owning businesses in Bureau County. But my son had an idea. He lives in Ankeny, Iowa. We have a consulting business in Ankeny. We have a second house out there, and I spent the last 4.5 years in Iowa advising a large business. And we actually looked at Ankeny. That's probably where we were going to do this project. And the more I thought about it and thought about, where we're from, and by good happenstance, one day I ran into Keith Kane. And, I can't say enough about Keith. I go, here's what I'm looking at. I can't find anything that fits what we want to do. And he goes, give me 24 hours. The mayor calls me within 24 hours. Teresa and Michael have been super on the project. I've got my son. And the other owner of the project that's going to be with us in a different building is a young man that's worked for me since he's been 12 years old. And kind of like a son to me, and I give him the chance to be able to be a business owner too. So that's something big in my heart. So the Mickley name will be there, and then we'll have a boy that's worked, or a young man, not a boy, that's worked for Mickley's for many years. When you look at the word technology out there, there couldn't be anything more that's hit agriculture than technology. And what we're going to do in the Mickley side, it's called Seed Fluency Plant, and there's only about 2 or 3 people in the United States that make this product. And if you think of a farmer's plant or corn or soybeans, they have a powder that comes in a 20-pound container. And with that powder today, because of all the innovation that's went on, you have biologicals, you have micronutrients, and you have other highly yield inclusive things that go into that. So we'll be starting manufacturing. It's the first time we manufactured in our life, but we're looking forward to it. We have some really good large companies aboard. I think we already have full production. And we got some great local builders in the community that are going to be part of it. And from that, we couldn't be any happier. And when I look at it, the other business is going to manage our day-to-day activities for us. And a couple of those people have been in the MICLI organization for many years. So I really got some old employees coming back to run our business. My son will be the one that comes up with what we're making and selling it. And, I just kind of drive by and make sure everything's going. But, I couldn't be any happier. And again, Keith, thank you so much for what you've done for Western Bureau County and Princeton and all of Bureau County. Couldn't be any prouder. So that's kind of our story. I answer any questions, but we're happy to be here. We hope to get going here in 30 days.
What's the timeline for completion?
So we'll be done. I think we'll have the seed fluency building done by probably the first week of December. In our time frame, then our busy season will be Thanksgiving till maybe April 1st, because you'll have to have all the product out to the farmers. And this will go across the whole United States. We'll have Delta product, we'll have West Coast product, we'll have East Coast product. And again, the heart of the crop areas, the Midwest, the 3 ice states. So I'm going to call it Geese 1 to April 1, and it'll work out really good for our cohorts next door, because they're busy from March 15th to probably December 1st. So gives them a chance to help us. And we got a phase 2 that, if we get off and running, we got a phase 2 that we're planning that's even bigger. And, it's all technology driven. Anything you thought of agriculture 20, 30 years ago, now everything's like a microscopic thing that goes in a thing to help get more yield. So technology and a technology part, it's pretty good. And this will be the MICLI organization started in '79 in ag business. So that'll give us 46 years we've been in business in the area. So pretty proud of that.
Council members, any other questions from council? Comments?
Great, go.
All right. Valerie, Don, thank you. We're going to take a vote here in just a second.
I got it.
All right. Yes, Mayor King, former Mayor King, retired.
I think I'm retired. I just want to say, on behalf of Don and Val, I've known this family for quite a while, and when they do a project, it's first class. So there's nothing to worry about. If you look at what McLean Ag has done over the years, they do everything. I mean, it's no question. And when he talked to me, I thought it'd be a good place to put that would be out in the tech park. So I just want to know that they got my support, and they know they do it. I want you to know that too. But it is first class operation. There's no doubt about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate that.
I just want to say is something that has come up from a couple of council members. And one was that if we didn't have this property was used for something else that we thought that should have been used for, we wouldn't have had this opportunity. So I'm glad that everybody was looking at it kind of a long term and in a different sense, rather than just having to rush to do one thing. So thank you for all those that were pretty prominent to not have that solar park there, and welcome, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Hector. Yeah, so we're going to take a vote here in just a second, and again, we as a council, we're humbled to have new businesses come to Princeton, and really what's good for Princeton is good for Bureau County. I mean, it's good for the whole county. So we, when you think about Ollie's, and I know the previous mayor worked on that with Teresa and the previous council, and they employ people from about a 60-mile radius, and that's good for the whole area. So we appreciate that. So with that said, we're excited about this project. Let's go ahead and call the roll, please.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Zaleski.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kings, if you'd like to leave, you can sneak out of here. Okay. You're welcome. Thank you, Valerie. We appreciate it. Don. Okay, let's see. Where are we at here with our agenda? Now we're on to discussion of proposed fire department building expansion. We're going to go ahead and have the chief come up. Is that the thought?
You just might come up if you.
Yeah, come on up to the podium. That sounds great. So when we had the special meeting, I know, Jerry, you weren't able to be there, but the next morning you met with the chief and you had discussion. So the chief's comments were to give direction to the fire department, to give direction to Teresa as to where we should be going with this project. And we really had about 3 different options, so to speak, and they're all still options in place, so to speak. So we have adding on to the existing facility here at this location, getting the sleeping quarters a little closer to the equipment, making it more efficient in so many different ways, and then possibly a second fire station down the road north of the railroad tracks, and then the addition of additional full-time firefighters, EMTs. My understanding from the chief was that we can't add any firefighter EMTs until we have sleeping quarters. So it seemed to me the prudent decision would be to move forward with the addition on this existing facility here first, get that started and up and going, see how that plays out. And again, the goal was for the council to have some thoughts on this and have some more discussion. So Jerry, we'll start with you since you weren't able to be at the meeting.
I support this. I know that Teresa is thinking about financing something like this, and that's important, of course, but I think the time has come, Rose, to bring things up to date. And Scott and I had an excellent conversation last week, and I think this is the first step of modernizing the fire department's facilities.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Mike, we're done with you.
Even though I was 15 minutes late to the meeting today. I did get everything in there, but I think this is definitely a way to go, and Scott and I talked afterwards about like the future after that too, what our next steps would be and things like that, but we have to go in this direction. I know I had a lot of questions, but it was just kind of getting the what ifs right out there, so I definitely support this. I think it's something we need.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, Hector?
Again, I didn't see anything wrong. I supported it. My biggest questions in the stroke when it comes to the initial cost and what you all call legacy, or what the future costs are going to be to include pensions. As everybody knows, that's a big issue with pension not being funded. So I don't want any additional things to be go ahead and be given to the taxpayers of this community. But like the chief said, if he starts it and we do hire them, he doesn't want to go ahead and be able to go ahead and lay anybody off just because of the funding. So you got to make sure that everything's in place.
But Hector, you're in support of this addition to get started with that part of it? Can you make that?
As long as I can see the money.
Okay.
They all say, show me the money.
Okay. No, we're going to work on that. We're going to and let's go to Councilperson Sletsky, please.
I'm supportive of the addition. I know that you're working out of a building that was built in 1978. Really not too many updates on that since then, and yet I think you brought this department to top notch. I mean, back in 78, we really had a lot of volunteers. Your equipment's changed since then. I think you need the space. Your turnout times are hard to make with the current configuration. I think we know that. So I'm in favor of the addition.
Very good. Thank you, Don. Appreciate that. Well, for tonight, then, the consensus from the council is to continue to move forward with this project. So, Teresa, you've got direction, and Chief, you've got direction. Okay?
Appreciate it.
Any additional comments from the council? Otherwise, we'll let Chief get home. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's see. Let's go ahead now to the city manager report.
I have nothing more than what's in your packet for the police pension report for May of 2025. That's all.
Very good. Okay, on the mayor's report, let's see. I think we're pretty well caught up with things. We hosted the Friday lunch in the park, had a great time. People enjoy coming out, and it was more the social aspect of it. We got all the picnic tables kind of grouped together a little closer, and we had hot dogs, and we had baked beans and fixins and homemade cookies. And again, it wasn't the menu as much as attracted people. I think it was the fact that they could come out and have a little social time. And of course, we had just a real diverse group of people. And we served everybody got served, and we ended up with about 175 people, and wasn't one hot dog left. So there we go. Good turnout. think we're gonna try that was year number 2. My wife says that's enough of that, but I think we're gonna try it again. Just don't tell her that's on the
I
record.
would say your grandfather was amazing with her voice, so.
Appreciate that. She's 15. She's tried real hard. So that, the talent obviously is from some other side of the family. Maybe the strong man stuck in there. I don't know what happened. That's just a joke. Okay. Off the record of that. Okay.
Doug, you gotta put that in.
All right, let's go on to, and is there any old business before the council this evening? Is there any new business before the council? And additional public comment from anyone? Seeing none, would Jerry?
I move that we adjourn our regular meeting this evening and reconvene for our next city council meeting on Monday, July 21st, 2025, 6 p.m. at City Hall.
Second.
Motion second, clerk call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Gillespie.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Feel free to stick around and talk to your council people. Thank you.